Hey guys, I'm doing something a little different here today. I'm doing something that we call abuse victim cooking, and what do I mean by that? Well, there's a lot of people that end up getting abused and basically tortured, tormented, bad things happening to them their entire life, and they turn to food. And when they turn to food for comfort, oftentimes with the taxing of cortisol and the types of situations that they have to deal with overall that affect their health, turning to food creates even bigger problems for them as their comfort source. Some people turn to crime, some people turn to drugs. But I'm going to start showing you how I learned to cook. So when I did turn to food, not necessarily not do it, but learn better ways to do it. Hi, Pam. To learn better ways to do it without harming myself in the long run, but still being able to indulge in the types of food that I like to eat, but in a healthier, cleaner way. So right here, I've got some chicken drums. This is the meat that I like on the chicken, this and the thigh. I'm gonna fry these up right here. I'm gonna get them kind of brown. And then I'm gonna start a sauce over here with no sugar and stuff in it. It should be a garlic creamy sauce. And then I'm gonna finish it off in the oven in that baking pan over there. Once I started to learn to cook like this, I realized there's nothing in my food anymore that's really harming my health, so I'm not exasperating what I'm already dealing with. I turned to food whenever I was depressed, whenever I would start to think about the bad things that would happen to me. So I decided that why not learn how to cook better? And then I could pretty much eat as much as I want, and it wouldn't make me feel any worse. And I could learn to overcome these things that I dealt with, even if I was using food, kind of to start to wean off of using that as a crutch. So today I'm going to make this garlic creamy chicken that I just absolutely love to make. In this other pan over here, I'm going to start a sauce. It's basically heavy whipping cream that I end up seasoning and putting some cheese in to make a nice garlic creamy sauce to go over the top of this. Hey, hey, hey. That was about 1.5 containers of the small containers of the heavy whipping cream that I just put in there. I see. Yeah, that lady was pretty scary. The one that was screaming because that judge died, how she was going off in her car. Man, people, they get so emotional and tied up into one person, they just absolutely go nuts. No, I don't really watch 10 to Life. I don't do anything with watching Michael Long's story. I didn't. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. My focus is on the abuse that's going on with Sophie herself, and not so much the rest of the people. Other people can figure that out and talk bad about that, but that's not something I'm going to get into. I'm still going to solely focus on the abuse overall, whether it's Michael or Kelly. Either way, it's wrong. Let me turn this around so I can talk to you guys while I'm cooking. Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on with that whole entire situation. You know, to this to the extent of seeing everybody talk bad about them and what's going on with Michael. I just don't have time to stay up on all that stuff. I mean, if it's worth it, you know, I'll go take a look at it. But like I said before, my main focus has always been about the abuse that's going on with children. I really don't like it where other YouTubers get involved and start talking trash about the family and other YouTubers and stuff like that. I've done that in the past. It's not productive. I feel bad about it, and I'm completely against it now. So I tend to not go to these other channels to get involved with all that mess. You know, I was ready to talk about it when I was in like my mid 20s, but it just nobody really ever listened about it, you know. It was people would hear it and they would feel bad, but nobody would ever start to take heed to what's going on. So I'm gonna actually take some of this. I have this Flavor God, Flavor King. It says let let there be flavor, and this company is the only company that I've ever seen that doesn't put all the junk additives and stuff in their food. It's completely clean stuff. There's no like anti-caking agents and stuff in it. There's no sugar in their seasonings. It's all just straight seasoning, and it's like the best quality seasoning that I've ever had. I mean, it's expensive. You know, this bottle right here, this container of seasoning right here costs like $6.50 for this one container, but I've had this now for almost 2 months. Yeah, again, guys, I haven't watched the interview. I don't know what happened. I'm not big into going to other people's channels to figure out what they're saying about people. I mean, I could go check it out if that's something you wanted me to do, but I really don't like doing that stuff just for the simple fact that I don't want to get drawn into anything. I know what abuse is. I've experienced it. You guys have seen my story, the amount of abuse that I went through, and it's just not something that I want to go partake in somebody else's idea on what they think is abuse is and then get let down by something that they clearly don't see or whatever, you know. If it's something you honestly want me to do, I'll do it. Ooh, I got it. I got it. Gotcha. That soldier was almost down. Hey, 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 hey. Cut it out. That popped out too quick. Now I'll pull this off of here. Move this over here because I'm going to have to clean up a mess. Turn it back down because when it starts to simmer like that, you're supposed to kill it real quick, but obviously I missed it. Oopsie. I'll check it out, guys. I mean, if that's something you want me to do, I'll check it out. I put about a quarter cup of Parmesan cheese in there, the grated stuff, the non-fresh stuff. And then a little bit of the real fresh shredded or grated Parmesan cheese. Just a couple pinches full. Maybe 3. Stir it up a little bit. Hey now, get out of there. And then I'm going to take some smoked sharp cheddar and put it in here as well. And a lot of people think stuff like cheese and things like that is bad. It's natural. The only thing you have to worry about with cheese is if you have a lot of allergies. Because the histamines in cheese, because they're aged, can mess with your allergies. What else can mess with your allergies? Anything sour. So like pickles, sauerkraut, kimchi, avocados. They have a lot of histamine in them. A lot of processed meats instead of whole fresh meats, like hot dogs and things like that. All that stuff has a higher histamine count, which can make your allergies substantially worse. Okay, we got this nice, lightly creamy sauce. That's good to go. A little bit more garlic seasoning to it. You could let this sauce cool and it will thicken up even more, and then you don't have to worry about it being so thin right now. But I want to bake this chicken in that sauce. Oh yeah, it's starting to get thick. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this. That's a metal pan. You don't need a wood spoon for a metal pan. It's a stainless steel pan. It ain't going to do anything to it. And now I did not start the oven yet. The reason I did not start the oven yet is I want this to sit here. And I want it to kind of slowly soak into that as the oven's warming up. I did not warm the oven up right away. I'm going to warm it up right now. So I'm going to bake it at 350 for about 40 minutes. See, that sauce is already starting to thick up. It's not so runny anymore. See, it's starting to get really thick. It's not moving around as much. As this cools down, you can actually make that same sauce that I just did with the heavy whipping cream, the garlic sauce, and the cheese. And as it cools down, it'll start to solidify, but it won't ever solidify. It'll only stay spreadable. And you can make your kids their own spreadable cheeses for sandwiches. You can make your own like topping and stuff for like potatoes and stuff like that. You can remelt it and use it as like a gravy for potatoes. So you're not getting all that extra additive and sugar and stuff that people put in their food. So that's another way for you to actually... Oh, the scraping sound? Yeah, it is what it is, man. You guys know how I roll. I just run it. I'm not going to change that now because somebody doesn't like it. I mean, this is how I do things. See, this stuff has already started to set up. Paying attention to the camera instead of cooking. So I turned to food a lot whenever I was depressed. I turned to food a lot whenever I would think about bad things in my life, and I eventually got to a point where it was just whatever I wanted to eat, I would eat. But once I started to learn to eat cleaner, like this is really clean. A lot of people will feed you a lot of bad information. Well, it's animal fat and saturated fat, and so all the cheese and stuff is bad for you, and I would tell you that they are full of baloney. This is probably some of the most natural food you can eat. The thing is, what the government doesn't tell you and what the medical facilities don't tell you is if you're not eating sugar with your fat sources and your protein sources, you don't really have cholesterol problems as much anymore. Now, some of that could be hereditary. You're going to have it inherently no matter what. I mean, it's just going to happen. But most of the time when you get that BS from your doctor about not eating a lot of red meat and not eating a lot of this, you can see over the last 10 years all the research that's been done where you can have pretty much as much fat as you want and you can have as much protein as you want. As long as you're not taking that and putting it with a bunch of carbs and sugar, your body's not going to have like a negative reaction to it. So once I started learning that I could eat cleaner like this with no sugar and no carbs and stuff in it, and I could just eat more natural sources of food, the least amount of processed food that I put in my body, the better I feel. So if I do turn to food, um, I make sure it's more clean sources. It's not something that's like, a bunch of junk that people call comfort food, but really it's not. It comforts you while you're eating it, but then you feel like shit afterwards, and then you have to pay for it. So some people asked me in the last video, they said, what happened whenever you left foster care? What was the next step? So I want to address that real quick. There's no good spot for me to be, like, light-wise, because if I go over here, the light's good. If I go on this side of the light, it gets dark. If I go over here, it starts to glare the phone. It's like I can't go anywhere in this kitchen without it being. Maybe I'll just set it there. So some people asked me, what was the next step after foster care? What did you do next? And when I was 17 years old was the last home that I was in. I didn't want to go to any more homes. I'd been moved around too much as it was. It was my 9th foster home, and I was like, I've had enough, man. I really don't want to do this again, and I have a feeling they're going to move me again. So I just asked to be emancipated, and they wouldn't emancipate me. So when I was at school, I was the new kid at the school. It was a new home I was in, and I wanted to be emancipated, so I basically forced them to emancipate me. There was a kid at school talking trash to me, and I was the new kid starting on the football team before I even had to try out, where all of them, they had to try out, but I was, big, strong guy, so I was automatically on the team. I was stronger than them, I was faster than them, and they were jealous of that. They were jealous that the coach already had me on the starting roster before I even moved there. So it was kind of there was some tension there already when the new kid started school, and they hadn't even seen this kid yet, but he was already on the starting roster for the football team. So I went to school, and I basically forced their hand on it. This kid started talking trash to me, started knocking my books out of my hand and stuff like that, thought he was pretty tough. So one day he tried doing it in the hall, and I just knocked him the hell out. I put him right into the locker. I mean, he had his locker open and everything, and I just hauled off and just boom, right in the locker, knocked him inside the locker. And I walked away and left him there. Well, they called me to the principal's office. That wasn't the answer for anything. I'm not proud of that. But I went to the principal's office, and they said, I hadn't been there a week maybe, that they already seen that there was going to be some kind of rise in tension, and because of how I hit that kid and it banged him up pretty good, they were expelling me or suspending me from school, whatever it was. I think it was they expelled me. And the next step was to go to a school in another district or something like that. So I was like, I'm not going to go back through this again. I just want to be emancipated out of the system. I just want to be done with all this. I want to be on my own. So at 17 years old, my foster father went and signed the lease on my apartment. I lived in Bradley, Illinois, down by Bradley, Bourbonnais, and I got my own apartment at 17 years old. I bought my first car. I started working construction, so I worked for a company down in Limestone, Illinois called Innovative Insulation, and I was young. He gave me a chance, though, I worked for the Chicago Tribune as a supervisor, basically dealing with customer complaints. Nice, Lynn. Lynn says she lived in Bradley in 1980. Yeah. So I started at the Chicago Tribune dealing with customer complaints. I had, about 11, 12 people that I would come in and supervise in the morning, download all the new routes. If somebody didn't show up, I would go run their paper routes. So I had various jobs after that to put myself into a better spot in my life. And I didn't want everything that happened to me before to dictate what was going to happen in my future. So I seen that if I ended up like everybody else, I would be in the projects, I would be in the hood, I would be in prison, I would be a drug dealer and all these other things, and that's not what I wanted to be. So I continued to work and grind it out and just work and grind it out. And by the time I was 20 years old, I was ready to go into the military. So in between doing that, leaving foster care, going back, finishing school, going to the military, after the military in Iraq, coming back, being married, and then having to pick back up again and start going back to school all over again. Then for years I was in school taking college courses and stuff like that, and eventually after what would be equivalent to like 7 years of total school, I ended up, getting a master's certification in auto mechanics, and what would be the equivalent to like a bachelor's in like mechanical engineering. I took refrigerant, industrial refrigerant classes. I went to all these different manufacturer training specific classes all over the country. So some of that was helped by Uncle Sam. They did pay the bulk of me going through automotive school. But never in my life did I stop and say I can't keep going. I just I gotta get to a point where I just stop and feel bad for myself, or even when I lost everything 4 times. I've lost my bank account, living out of my car, being homeless and stuff 4 times. And finally, when I was in finally, I would say probably about 4 years ago is when I finally said enough. Don't keep going back down that path. Don't keep making so much progress and then letting something simple step in the way and just mess everything up. So eventually I got to a point where I was just like, I can't keep going down that path anymore. I just have to stay on it. And now for years now, I've just been making money, making money, making money, making money. I got a really, really good job. I work for really good people, and I get paid very well to do what I do finally after all these years. You can be somebody. You don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to let society dictate what you do and what you don't do. You can start to become something at an early age if you just put your mind to it. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything. Now I make, $90,000 a year. I work for a very successful company. Is more like working for myself than anything, I should say. I have a contract with somebody, but I work really under my own regard. And it's kind of one of those things where if you put your mind to it, you can do it. You don't have to listen to social media. You don't have to listen to CNN. You don't have to listen to Catholic Charities and DCFS talk to you about statistics and say you're going to fit inside that, and this is what typically happens. You don't have to listen to that stuff. You can look at yourself and say, I need to be somebody. I need to respect myself, and I need to do something with myself, and there are programs out there that can help me get there. I'm going to find out what they are. I don't need people to do that for me. I'm going to go find out what they are, and I'm going to go enroll in these programs. I'm going to go take myself and put myself out there and stop being scared and make sure that I'm successful, and I don't have to end up like these other people out here that go down that wrong path because of their childhood. I know it's easier said than done, but you can do it. You really can do it. It's just a motivating factor in life that you need to know that your value is worth much more than what society says it is. Your value needs to be the number one thing in your life. I can't care for anybody else unless I care for myself first. If I don't care for myself first, then when I try to care for somebody else, it's mediocre. I always try to tell people going into relationships and stuff as well, the same thing. How could you care for somebody else if you don't care for yourself? How could you find yourself happy with somebody else if you're not happy with yourself? Because all you're going to do is ruin somebody else's life. Maybe you won't ruin their life, but you can make it uncomfortable. You can make it worse than what you actually have to offer if you started working on you first. Love yourself first before anything else. Well, God, if you believe in God, I love God first before anybody else, and then myself, and then everybody else. Because in that order, I feel the happiest, and I feel the most safe, and I feel the most secure and strong. And when I do that, then that makes me more successful when I project that education, that wealth, and that love to everybody else whenever I talk to people about things. But if it's not in that order for me, it doesn't work. I can't put somebody else before me if I'm not complete. So that way, when I do worry about them, I can really take care of them. A lot of people do it backwards. They're more caring and giving to people, and they neglect themselves. But what they don't realize is by them neglecting themselves, they're really not caring and giving to those other people like they actually could. You have to be complete. Let's put this in the oven. See, now that it cooled down, it got even thicker. You can see here. Ooh wee. My gosh. Now you could sit down and be depressed, angry, and upset at the world and eat a bowl of that. And you'll feel pretty good afterwards. My aunt down in Louisiana used to say, that stuff's so good it make you want to smack your mama. I don't want to smack my mama. My mama's pretty big. She's about 5'2", 5'3", and she's got these big old stocky Popeye arms, and she will knock your ass out. She's not scared. I'm talking about my foster mom now, the one that that the second family that I was with. They kind of stayed with me throughout. Elizabeth said, when I started to gain weight, I was told, don't you think you should lose some weight? I hate when this camera does this. And I said, if someone was going to love me, they're going to love me for how I look. Yeah, but Elizabeth, I agree with you. Someone should love you for how you look and for who you are. But you also have to think about it another way as well. And these are conversations I have with women heavily. Look, and hear me out, guys, because some of you are not going to like what I have to say. But listen to me and hear what I'm saying. Don't judge me for this. Think about this. I was with a woman one time, dating her, really nice lady, and she said something to the effect of, I just want to be right at 180, 190 pounds, and I'm happy there. And I said, why is that? Why do you want to be there? What's wrong with 160 or 170? Why is this 190 number popping up? What happened to that? And she said, well, I think that's what women look the best at, and I think that's what men like the best. They like those thicker women like that. And I said, well, I like women that are beautiful. I don't have a preference to what type of woman that I actually like. If there's somebody that intrigues me and makes me feel special about myself, and I'm attracted to them, and I do the same for them, that's what works for me. But I don't have a specific type of woman that I like. And I said, I'm trying to get through where you think being at this specific body weight is where you need to be. And she says, that's just what I think. I think that's the most sexy to men. And I said, what about you, though? What is the most sexy to you, though? What you don't understand is by gaining the extra weight, by trying to fit this standard or statistic. Now, hear me out. Some of you are not going to like what I'm saying, but hear my message and don't dramatize it when I say this. What are you doing to your health? What are you doing to your organs? What are you doing to your knees? What are you doing to your back? What are you doing to your heart? Sure, we want people to love us for how we are and what we look like. But internally, what are we doing to ourselves? The more visceral fat you have, the more your ghrelins affected, the more your adipose tissue grows all around your body, the more you mess up your chemical signaling and stuff. Your body doesn't know how to interpret full and not full. The more fat you have on your body, the more it's called adipose tissue or visceral fat. This fat messes up with your body being able to interpret I'm full and I'm hungry. And why does it do that? Because your body stores fat to tell itself this is an emergency storage for later. But once you start going and tapping into that and going beyond that, and you overeat, or there's other things wrong with you, and you start packing more fat and more fat and more fat away, you're throwing your hormones all off. A lot of people don't understand that, people will love me for how I am. Yes, they should love you for how you are when they meet you and respect you and hope that eventually you'll try to be healthier and better, but love you for that person. See, me, I said the same thing, but I also know in the back of my head that there is a level of health that I want to achieve. That's not somebody else's job to try to dictate that for me, but we also have to understand that this is a vessel that's been given to us. This is a gift that we live in. And if we don't appreciate it, and we don't try to take care of it, and we don't try to do better, which I'm sure most of you are,
then what are we actually doing by respecting ourselves? You know, I agree. There's a lot of women that I see that are what would be considered thicker women, chubbier women, and they're gorgeous. They're beautiful women. I mean, I'm not gonna lie if I say I didn't look at one and be like, wow, she's a she's hot or attractive or sexy or whatever. Sure, of course I do. But I also see in the back of my mind that I bet you that woman's probably struggling to be healthier as well. She's probably trying to get better and do better. So it's one of those things where I get what people are saying when they say you're gonna just have to love me for how I am. Just like I say on this channel, you know, I'm gonna kind of do things like I do things on this channel, and I'm not really looking to change that for other people. But I also see that there are some things that I need to change on my own to better communicate with my audience. So in time, I learn that the same thing somebody else is telling me that they want me to do, I'm actually learning in the long run that that's something naturally that I should be doing. I just don't need somebody else telling me that. The same thing with weight. It applies there as well. Yes, you should love me for how I am, but in the back of my mind, I'm conscious to the point where I know I probably should try to be a little healthier. I probably should respect myself a little bit more and stop stopping at the McDonald's every morning and getting the English muffins, and stop stopping at the Krispy Kreme, or going to Jewel and getting the bucket of honey wings and just indulging over Netflix and eating the whole entire bucket. I know I shouldn't be doing those things. I should make them as a treat, you know, make them few and far between. But we also have to be conscious and don't let that message overall of people should love me for who I am sit there and play the front part of your reality. You should also say, you know what, I need you to love me for who I am, but I am in a position to where I'm actually trying to focus on being healthier, and that's my goal. However that has to happen, I'll eventually figure that out. But I do want to be healthier. But anybody that comes to you and tells you something like that out front, that's completely disrespectful, and that's not somebody that I want in my life. Anybody that comes up and says you need to lose weight, you need to this and you need to that, it's not something I need in my life. I don't need you abusing me even more than what I've already been abused. I can figure that out. I'm a pretty smart person, and I'm gonna figure that out. But then you have that big part of the crowd out there that says maybe you didn't see what somebody else sees, and maybe that's why they said that. Those people are not as abundant as us that know that's not something that you should just go up and say to somebody, but they're out there and they believe in that thick skin, that thick reality of you should be able to hear what people are saying and sometimes block out the disrespect part and hear the message. So yeah, I mean, I get that, but I'm saying that my whole message was based on that mindset. Not so much you, but more about that mindset of people should just accept me how I am. Yeah, they should, but you should want better for yourself as well. Just like you said, that was when you were 17, but now you're 35 and you're trying to do better. That's the goal. The goal should be try to do better and make an attempt to do better. And that's what we're doing. That's all we can do with each other, right? So how could anybody be happy with somebody wanting, or unhappy with somebody wanting to do better and making an attempt to be better? You know, that's where we're at, and that's the goal here. So you know, after kind of like a timeline set, if we were to talk about how the abuse affect my relationships, you know, I was abused by a woman. How did that abuse affect my relationship with women? Well, initially I was very standoffish. I didn't know if I could trust women. I didn't know if I could. I never felt accepted 100% when I was with a woman early on. And I was so scared to date that I didn't start actually dating until 17, 18 years old, or maybe even, yeah. And I dated a woman that was much older than me. She was, you know, at that time she was, I think I was 17, 18. She was like 24. And we were good together. The problem is the trauma kept going. I didn't know she was dating somebody else while she was with me. She wanted to physically be with me, sexually I should say, and go out and do nice things with me at restaurants and amusement parks and stuff like that. But she wanted to go date somebody else because she felt that his family accepted her more than my family did. And his family was just like the whole mom dad package that made her feel like a family. Where my foster parents didn't really like her at the time. They didn't really care for her. And then after I moved out, they didn't ever have to see her again. But, you know, one day I'm coming home from work and I see a big billboard sign at the Nextel. You all remember the cell phone company Nextel when they used to be around? They had the push to talk walkie talkies. There was a big Nextel sign, and as I'm going through Bradley Bourbonnais, I see the big Nextel sign, and it said something about such and such. I won't say the name on camera. Such and such name. I want you in my life forever. And then her name, and I was like, huh? Who? What? What is this? Who are we talking about here? What you want? I don't get this. What? I called her up on the phone right away, and I said, what the hell is this stuff I see on this sign about some other dude, and then you have a message there, and then your name is at the bottom of it. You paid somebody to put a sign up on a billboard that says you want them in their life forever, and your name's on the bottom of it, but you're dating me, you're seeing me, you're sleeping with me, you're coming over to my house and staying at my house for days on end. I don't get this. And that was my first experience with my first real relationship where I was being used, you know, at a young age. And luckily I was able to process it better than most people were, because I could have done something stupid. Like, you know, some guys would have went off the rail and tried to beat everybody up and hurt people and stuff like that. I didn't do any of that. And I had her come over and we sat down and we talked. And she said, look, I'm just going to be straight with you. I really like you a lot. I like physically being with you. You're a great partner. I like going and doing things with you. We laugh and joke all the time. She said, I love you for that. But outside of that, I don't feel like I'd ever have a family life with you because your family doesn't accept me at all. I said, well, we ain't got to worry about my family. That's, you know, that's irrelevant to our relationship. I don't let my family dictate how my relationship runs. That's just how it is. That's my relationship. And, you know, she sat down and, or while we were sitting down, she said, you know what? I'm just going to call all this off with him and I'm just going to date you. Well, I thought to myself, well, okay. I mean, if that's how it is, that's how it is. So she goes and talks to this guy and calls it off with him. 5 or 6 months go by and I leave my house early in the morning to go to work. But she had been over at my house, my apartment. And she left about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and she works at a bank, and I'm thinking to myself, why is she leaving so early? The bank don't open till almost 8 o'clock. And I couldn't figure out what was going on, so I jumped in my car and I followed her. I let her take off and go, and jumped in my car, and I stayed about a half a block to a block behind her the whole entire time, and she never expected it. I parked down at the end of the street, and I walked down the sidewalk as I see her car pull up in this driveway, and I watch her walk up to the door, and I'm walking down the sidewalk, and I get up to this house where she's standing at the door and she's waiting for somebody to open the door, and I come around the tree, and just as I come around the tree in the front yard, I see this little scrawny tiny thing open the door. Little Pendixel arms. Look like a little toothpick. Now, mind you, at the time, I'd been lifting weights for a while. I've been taking a lot of boxing classes and stuff like that. I was getting really, really, really good in martial arts, you know, physical activity like that, sporting stuff. This dude had some kind of like karate gear or something on, like not like MMA type shirts and stuff like that or whatever. And he hugs her and kisses her on the cheek, not on the mouth. And then she hands him a cup of coffee from McDonald's that she had picked up on the way where I had followed her to. The McDonald's, and then straight over to this guy's house. And he's sipping on his coffee and stuff like that. And I walk up and I said, what the hell is this? What's going on here? And she was like, oh, shit. I said, yeah. What's going on here? What is all this? I thought you left this dude months ago, and now all of a sudden you're back with him again. You're greeting him at his door, and he's kissing you on the face and stuff like that. You're handing him coffee. What the hell is this? "Oh, do we have to do this right now?" And a little skinny, scrawny boy. I mean, I bet you he's only 5'6", 5'7", probably 130 pounds soaking wet. And here I am, 5'10", 190 pounds, built like a fucking shit brick house. And he comes around and he's going to come at me. And as he goes to come at me, I just grabbed this dude right by the throat and I slammed him right into the ground. And I held him there. And I said, I'm not doing this with this kid right here. And I'm holding him there while he's trying to get up and everything else. I said, I'm not going to play this game. And I let him go. Oh man, I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems. So he starts to back up again. And as I'm leaving, I did something stupid. He had the little small pickup truck, and I blasted that truck right in the light. And he had those aftermarket Euro lights, and I have scars in my hand where they had to put pins in my hand all the way down my hand, because when I blasted the back of that truck, because I was so ticked off, I broke all my knuckles across my hand, and then I fractured two of the bones that come down in the center, and they had to drill and put pins in it and put an external fixator to pull everything back together and let it heal. So early on, I got exposed to what kind of craziness was going on in the world. So not only did I go from the abuse as a child and then trying to recover from all that, now I'm dealing with crazy ass women, compounding everything else that I dealt with. And it wasn't until I just said, you know what, I just need to stay away from women for about 2 years, just a couple of years at least. So I stepped away for a few years, and I kind of recovered from a lot of that, just being alone, finding myself, trying to figure out where my happiness and stuff was. And, then I kind of got over a lot of it as time passed. And it wasn't until I was like clearly like 26, 27 years old where I didn't really have any reservations or fear anymore. It was just all about building a relationship and creating a family and stuff like that. And still to this day, at 34 years old, my dream is to have my own children and be with somebody that will let me be there and take care of them, and be the functioning, primary provider for the family. But it seems like, nowadays it's those values are not really expected anymore. So I find that a lot of times when women run across somebody like me that wants to be there to take care of the kids, take care of her, make sure everything's good. You can go to work and do all that stuff if you want, but I want to be like that old school traditional household, like family life, where the man really is doing the bulk of the financial providing and making sure the family's taken care of and nurtured, and let the mom, kind of do her thing as the motherly figure and raise and dictate what happens inside the household. I like that. I've always liked that type of original old school lifestyle. But a lot of times now people don't like any of that stuff. They're not for that. They want to be out there running around, working 10, 12 hours a day, missing their children's practices at school and not being there for them at home. And you have two parents doing that and they miss most of their child's lives. They're not even there anymore. And the child basically grows up knowing their parents 50% of the time throughout their teenage years and stuff, because their parents are never there. So it's made me wake up, and I have goals on what I want, but I don't necessarily have to achieve exactly that. And that's kind of like where I'm at right now in my life is I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to find that old school traditional value that I think, for the most part it's lost. It's just not there anymore. Some of it is. I mean, you can still find it, but it's just, nowadays there's things that people believe in and that pop up all the time that people don't even understand. Like I was moderating a conversation with ironically, there was like 6 or 7 women that were all debating back and forth in one of my groups. And I said, you know what? I'm going to stay here, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to be silent. And I see the mentality change. I've seen the mentality change over the last few years, and it's really scary now. I hope so, Daddy. I hope so. In this conversation, one girl was talking about being a minority, and she says, I'm already a statistic as a minority. And I says, okay. I recognize that point. Another girl says, well, I'm a female minority, and I'm transgender. And I'm like, okay, I mean, so what are we talking about here? Are we talking about feminism? Are we talking about what's the topic of the conversation? And what they were debating feminism. One woman was saying that feminism is it's just stupid. It doesn't even need to be like because feminism now is not the same type of feminism that there was 20 years ago. Now it's all about bashing men and trying to prove that you're better than other people and stuff. Where before it was more about equality and fighting for women's rights and stuff. This lady was going off, and she said it's not even the same anymore. It's been bastardized by social media and this new generation coming up where it's not the same. Well, another girl pops up and says, well, I'm an intersectional feminist. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is an intersectional feminist? So I Google it real quick while I'm moderating. I said, intersectional feminist. And it was like a feminist that is a minority that puts her in an intersectional category of feminism. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me it's already bad enough that people see feminists the way that they do? But now you're furthering the divide between the people that you stand with and saying you need to be the intersectional form of that because you have less rights than that other feminist that's fighting right next to you. How does it make sense for you to continue to fucking divide in between a movement that you're supposed to be standing for, and then you want to divide yourself from your own people that are in that movement for you? What are you going to achieve by doing that? Not a freaking thing, Jack. All you're going to do is ruin the message. And that's what's going on in life today. Is people have a message, but then they want to say, oh no, mine's worse than yours. And 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 by the time that message has been broken down so many times, and people are further trying to retract themselves from the people that are fighting that message with them, it's lost. It looks like a joke now. It looks like a big clown party. So that was my first experience with actually figuring out some of the social stuff that's going on in the world, like on how bad it actually is and what people want. People don't want to be equal. If you think for 1 minute that you sit there on that TV and watch all the stuff that comes across of it on Facebook or something like that and see, oh, people want unity and people want that. Yeah, there are a lot of people that do. But there's also a big majority of people out there that don't want to be equal to other people. They want to feel like they had it worse. They need more. They need this. They need that. It's not the same for them. We're never going to change anything that way. It's never going to change. So we live in a time right now where I'm glad that I went through what I did back then, because if I was going through that now, I don't know that I would have made it. I feel bad for children that are coming up in abusive homes with everything else that's going on in the world now. Can you imagine how much more with the coronavirus and the Black Lives Matter protesting and the anti-police, pro-Antifa, this and that? Can you imagine what's going on in people's homes? Not being able to work, not collecting money, having to rely on the government and stuff right now. Can you imagine how much more than children are getting abused because of the depression and stuff that their own families are going through, and they have to let it go on somebody, and the kids take the blunt of it? Can you imagine? I don't want to imagine that. But reality is, it's happening. The sexual assault cases have risen. The domestic battery cases have risen. The child abuse cases have risen. And these numbers have risen substantially since all this stuff has been going on. But people think it's just a great idea to keep fighting for something that the whole world is not going to agree on. There's going to be no change. It's going to get worse. And our children are having to deal with all that right now, while most of society is being completely ignorant about the whole entire thing. So that's something else that I'm worried about now as well. What's going on in these people's homes now, currently, while all the chaos is going on. It's sad right now. So I won't lie. Let me put this timer on. I'm planning for something bad to happen. That's all I can do. I'm really planning for something bad to happen in the future. It doesn't seem like, with the election coming up and everybody fighting with each other, it doesn't really seem like anything's getting any better, and it's not going to get any better. So we're starting to see more and more trouble in our neighborhoods now. there was just a couple weeks ago, there was 3 men at 5 o'clock in the morning. Thank you, Elizabeth. There was 3 men at 5 o'clock in the morning out here where I live, and they were like robbing homes at 5 o'clock in the morning in the suburbs where we don't have these types of problems. At 5 o'clock in the morning, going into old people's homes and robbing them. Like, what the hell is going on with people, man? What do they not have anything better to do to come all the way out to the suburbs and these nicer areas and stuff like that and break into people's homes at 5 o'clock in the morning and take their stuff? I moved over here so I can get better natural lighting so I can talk to you guys. So one of the big issues that we're having to deal with right now is the fact that nobody wants to work on things, and we keep getting messages and stuff like that a lot of the trouble is moving out to the suburbs. A lot of the trouble is moving out to the nicer areas and stuff like that. And a buddy of mine, he was going home last week, and he sent me a picture and he said, "Look, Rich, right in the middle of Elk Grove, there's a dude standing here with an Antifa sign right in the middle of my neighborhood. Like all black clothing, just nothing but the white part of his face exposed, holding a big black sign with the circle around it and the A, and then it's got like a downward arrow or something through it, and it says Antifa right on the bottom of the flag." And he's like, "Dude, this is in my neighborhood. We never see this stuff out here. Never. What's going on, man? Things are crazy, crazy, crazy right now." So I won't lie to you. With me being trained like I am and I have my CCL and my Ford card, I went out and bought a new Glock. I have to be able to protect my family, my friends, and stuff like that. I went out and bought 1,000 rounds of 9mm ammo. A couple weeks ago, you've seen the new videos that I've been doing in case people do have weapons and they don't know how to clean them, they don't know how to handle them. I've been doing a lot more videos where I show people how to do that stuff in case they have to protect themselves, how to break them down, how to make sure they're properly cleaned, how, the weapon functions and stuff like that. And I went out and bought a new MA-15 rifle from MMC Armory so I could have a different type of home defense if I have to. I don't want to be left when all this stuff blows up at the end of the year and we're having to try to help protect our communities and stuff like that and not be able to do it. I don't know. Honestly, we have groups that are quiet, that are watching everything that's going on. Just like tomorrow, they're supposed to be doing a pro-police, pro-Trump, pro-something. And by all means, do what you do. I don't even care if you don't like Trump. I have tons of friends that don't like Donald Trump or they don't like the police. That's fine. As long as they're good to me and they're good people, that's all I care about. You don't have to like people that other people like, and it's not somebody else's right to force you to like those people. So that's how I operate. I don't force people to not do things in my life just because to do things that I do just because I like them. I can still be friends with that person and be great. I've dated people that don't have any of the same political views as me, and it's been completely fine because that's not something you have to mix into a relationship anyway. The problem is society frowns upon that. They want people. They think that you should believe the same and act the same. So tomorrow they're doing it's like a pro-Trump, pro-police rally. And we already found out there's like 30 counter protesters that want to show up to cause mischief in that group. And we are in these other groups silently looking at what's going on. And they're not people that just say, let's go counter protest. They're people that are saying, let's go harass them. Let's go break this shit up. Let's go crash this wedding, crash this party and stuff like that. It's not about going out and counter protesting. They're going out to actually create mischief, to cause somebody to get shot, to get hurt, to make somebody feel like they have to defend themselves and make the wrong choice. So what we live in now is not, it's not what social media puts it out to be. So if any of you are going to social media to try to figure out the news, to try to figure out um, what, this Black Lives Matter person said, what so and so said, it was so positive and stuff like that, but then you go actually watch the video and you see that they're encouraging looting and rioting. They're actually saying that these are things that should have been paid to black people 400 years of oppression wise. So I don't see the problem with them burning down stores and stealing stuff out of the stores. We just had a leader here not too long ago in Chicago say that. So when you can get on national television and you could say, well, when you can get on television on a news channel and say, we don't feel bad about people doing that. This is something that should have been paid to them a long time ago, so we're not telling them not to do it. That's a problem, a huge problem. That's almost like you're encouraging people to go out and possibly get hurt because of something that they're doing illegally. I'm not sure what you meant by that. Anna Waxland, I fear that. Are you saying that you fear the same thing as me? So we have to, at some point as a community, come together and say, this is enough. This is not going to happen anymore. Even if we have to start going and defending these businesses and stuff ourselves. There are people that, I was at a seminar last night and I listened to Ann Dorn, David Dorn's wife, talk. And she said, you know what? I don't hate people. I'm not even mad at the people that did that to my husband and killed him. What I'm mad about is the fact that they had no reason to do it and they still chose to do it anyway. And they could have just walked away and left it alone, but they chose not to. They chose to kill my husband while he was trying to protect his business. It's kind of like one of those things where, why do you take a life because you're doing something wrong and nobody brandished a firearm to even cause you to do that? And she said they could have stole the stuff that they stole and they could have left, but instead they stole what they were breaking into it. And my husband left the house without telling me that he was leaving the house. Normally he would, because he knows I'm a police officer as well, and we would both go together to look at something. But she said, I don't understand. This night he knew something was wrong. He didn't want me in the middle of it. And because this night something was wrong, he left the house by himself and he never told me. And he went to the pawn shop where it basically indicated that there was a breach. It wasn't just a broken window or something like that, because these security systems can pick up different things. It was a breach that somebody actually broke in. So he went to go respond to it, and they shot him and killed him. And they could have just left and walked away, and he would have never chased him or did anything, because we were watching the looting and the rioting start. What the hell is going on with the world, man? Seriously. We look at statistics, and it was like 2019, 7,750 African American people were killed. Of those 7,750 African American people, there were 9 that were shot by police. When you break that down by a percentage, it comes out to like 0.0010% of African American people being shot and killed by police. There were 19 Caucasian people shot by police. 99.999% of the homicides that happened in the African American community in 2019 happened by black on black crime. And we're out here and we hate police officers, and we tell them we need to defund them. We need to take the resources away from them when they already don't have enough resources as it is. They already don't have the proper training and the longer training like they need, or the resources to fund that. They don't have the extra programs and stuff at a lot of the police stations to help go find children that are being trafficked in different areas. There could be children that are trafficked a specific way. There could be, like internet trafficking. There could be, this whole organ thing that's popping up where they're saying children's organs actually being medically implanted into people that are rich, basically, that have health conditions that could use those younger organs to bring themselves back, are being harvested in other countries because they see this working, whatever the reason may be. There's different programs that can be opened up to help these officers look after our children and go find them and get more involved in the homes, or offer more money and stuff like that so they can investigate different types of abuse with children to be more proficient at their job. Maybe send them to actual psychological training, actually go have them trained in a type of therapy or psychological evaluation, every single one of them, so they can all respond accordingly. They all get the same training so they can actually be up to par whenever they go to these specific situations where there's somebody with a mental issue that they have to deal with. Not too long ago, there was a woman, and I think it was in like Missouri. She called the police and she said, "Look, my son, he's mentally unstable. He's being very violent right now. I'm trying to go to work, but I can't leave him home like this. Can you come at least detain him? Because once you grab him and detain him, he calms down. He's fine. But right now, without that pressure or that security of um, well, unfortunately, Pam, protesting is not, there's nothing clean about protesting anymore. You want to see protesting, you come to one of my rallies, my protesting events, and you see everybody out there peaceful, not yelling at nobody, not screaming at anybody. We're all out there holding our flags and stuff like that. This is Sophie's face. This is Sloan's face. This is, child trafficking. I put out the statistics of child trafficking and stuff on certain signs. People are holding them up. They bring their own signs and stuff. We're out there with back our police officer flags and stuff like that because they're the ones that go get the children when they do find them. So we're out there peaceful. We don't have all this stuff that happens. But if you do it on the other side, by these companies and stuff that are organized in Chicago, these like Black Lives Matter organizations that have like these Asian heading names, that it's not about peaceful. There's nothing about peaceful. So where people automatically think that a Black Lives Matter protest in the Chicagoland area somewhere is going to be peaceful, it's not going to be peaceful. They might march up and down the street and scream and shout some loud things, but 99.9% of the time it turns into some kind of violence. And that's just that. I mean, protesting is fine if you're going to protest, but this ain't about protesting no more. It's about trying to create as much chaos as possible, and that's what's going on. There's no, people can be optimistic all they want and try to fluff it up and say, "Oh, they're just protesting." No, they're not just protesting. That's not what it is. Most of the ones that happen in Chicago end up with officers getting attacked, stuff being thrown at them, people getting hurt and shot. So this is nothing. There's nothing about, oh, it's just protesting. It's all lumped into the same thing now, even by the people that are out there doing it. Read their pages and stuff like that. It's not about systemic oppression. It's not about equality and unity. Go read the heading on a Black Lives Matter page. It's not about any of that. It's not about saying that we want to be the same as everybody else. It's about literally pointing out white people are racist. Inherently, white people are the only ones that can be racist. Everybody else in the world that's not white, it's not possible for them to be racist, but it's only possible for white people to be racist. It specifies the types of benefits that Caucasian people get over any other ethnicity, but it does not point out the fact that businesses are getting incentives to hire minorities. Businesses are getting tax breaks to hire minorities. Businesses are getting more opportunities for training and stuff to minorities because the government is giving them cutbacks and tax reliefs on all this stuff, but nobody talks about that stuff. Nobody talks about any of that because they want everybody to feel like the white man, the white man, the white man, the white lady, the white lady, Caucasian people, Caucasian people, Caucasian people. That is what it is. End of story. That's what it is right now. The white man, especially the white man, is the minority right now. And we cannot do anything good without being criticized for it. And that's how it is across the social media spectrum. There's not enough patriots to stand up and say, no, you can't be doing this right now. They just, they don't say nothing. They just let it happen. Look what I'm out here doing. I go to minority communities, take a family in the minority community, I'll take them shopping for the entire month, spend $400, $500, $600 on buying them groceries. One family, I went out and got a small $150 deep freeze so I could put it out in their garage so they could put their extra food in that because they didn't have enough room in their refrigerator. Another family I took out and got their kids clothes and books and stuff like that. But I'm racist because I'm white and I'm a patriot and I hold a back the blue flag, but that makes me racist. But I'm going into the minority communities and I'm doing this stuff with people. I'm going to find these families that need help and stuff like that, putting messages out on Facebook saying, I'm looking for a new family this month. Who can I help? Somebody pops up and says they need their cell phone bill paid, or I need some extra help with my gas bill or my rent. I'm short $500. Hey guys, do you think we can come up with $500? This person needs some help. They got to pay the rent. They don't want to be evicted from their home. Sure. A week later, done, taken care of. Money raised, give it to the family. You know, but I'm racist. This is the society that we live in. And it comes to this here. If you're this pigment, you're racist. That's it. That's it. That's how social media views everything now. That's how people in society are learning from social media automatically. And if you don't believe what other people believe, then you automatically get shut down. You can't have an opinion. And it's kind of funny how Antifa people act like they're anti-fascist, but they actually they embody the very thing that they're anti of. They want people silenced. They don't want people to talk. They want people controlled. They want to be in people's lives to cause fear and harm and stuff like that. Well, those are not what an anti-fascist does. It's not what an anti-fascist does. I mean, it's pretty clean cut and dry. So when I have these conversations with people like, we can look back at Ferguson and Taylor and everybody else, and you could see whenever the movement was created, if you look at the actual story overall, a lot of these people fabricate these stories. They were not putting their hands up. They were actually going for the officers' guns. They were not complying with orders. They were trying to take an officer down or did take an officer down. All these things that social media tells you all the way back from Ferguson about this is what happened is completely wrong. Look at the police reports. Look at the video footage. Put everything together. It's been nothing but fabricated since Ferguson. And now here we are today, still fabricating stuff, still not telling the story completely, still saying that all this stuff is going on. It's this inequality and this attention to African American people and stuff like that, continuing abuse over and over and over again, perpetuating these lies to get people to play against each other. Jacob Blake is a prime example. As soon as that whole Jacob Blake thing happened, which I agree, he did not need to be shot 7 times. They could have, shot him once or twice or, kind of respond to it. But when police officers shoot, they shoot to stop somebody from moving if they're a threat. What does social media say whenever the video came out? Oh, he's trying to break up a fight between 2 girls. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Then come to find out, the audio recording is released from the lady that called, which was his girlfriend. He was there abusing her. Took her keys for her car, wouldn't give them back, left his kids out in the car in the street while he was out screwing around somewhere else. And then the police show up because they got called by her. They tried tasing him twice. They try to take him down. They can't get him to go down. He goes to his car saying that he's going to get a weapon. He gets in the car to get a weapon, and they're trying to pull him back out of the car. And they shoot him. But Kenosha is burned to the ground right now because he was trying to break up a fight between 2 girls and a police officer shot him. That makes a lot of sense, right? That makes a lot of nonsense. Let's look at what just happened out in Portland or whatever. Guy says he's going to commit suicide because the police are after him. The police get to him, he kills himself, and they still go riot and loot anyway. Blame it on the police. How in the hell? How how is that even how is that even logical? Okay, so Portland. There's one of the Trump supporters out, one of the prayer boys. They have prayer boy across their mask, wearing a mask in the street, walking down the street, not with anybody else. White dude with the Black Lives Matter, the whole unity fist or whatever on his neck, comes out of nowhere, says he feels threatened, shoots the guy twice and kills him right there in the road. Well, when the reporter from Vice is asking him why he did that, he says, I felt threatened. I just felt because of what he was and his mask or whatever. And the guy asked him, "Did you see a weapon?" Well, no, he didn't. He didn't have a weapon. Then how in the hell did you feel threatened? What did justify you going up to this guy and shooting him twice because you thought he was going to do something to you? You projected in the future that this guy could turn around and hurt you, knowing that he's walking the opposite direction of you. And you shot him twice in the chest and killed him in the street. Well, the police showed up and found the guy. I was one of the main people on social media that took his picture and blasted it all over the place. I paid for that guy's picture to get blasted all over social media so people knew who this guy was that shot that guy. The cops found him and they saw a gun. There was a shootout and the guy died. A lot of people believe the cops just went ahead and executed him right there, but that's not what happened. The guy had a weapon. He was trying to get away. He knew that they were going to find him, but he was trying to get away from them. This type of stuff, this where people are okay with this, that guy is not. That guy says that Antifa and Black Lives Matter think that guy's a hero for doing that. They think that Antifa guy is a hero for going up and killing that boy for no reason. But then they use the Kyle Rittenhouse case against him and say, but that guy's a murderer. Well, this is a mindset that's all skewed. This 17-year-old boy left Antioch, Illinois, went up to Wisconsin, picked up an AR-15 from his friend that was a legal weapon, and Kyle was a trained EMS. Went and stood out there at the third business that was owned by this man. Two of the businesses were destroyed by the rioters. The third business, this man called up the Kenosha Guard and said, "Would you guys come stand and protect my property? I only have one business left. They've already destroyed the other two." This is the story you don't get from social media because people don't tell the truth. This is what happened. I had 4 people on the ground shooting media that night that are in the Patriot group. They were recording all these videos that you see flying around on social media along with other people like CJTV. So they show up and they're trying to protect this business. These people come up and start a fire in the dumpster. Kyle Rittenhouse, the boy that you see that they're calling a murderer, runs up behind everybody with a fire extinguisher and puts out the fire in the dumpster because they're trying to stop this fire from burning down by these gas pumps and cars and everything else, right? Well, that pissed them off because they want that fire going. They want to start that fire and be pyros and everything else while they're out there supposed to be peacefully protesting. Well, they put the fire out and it pissed off the crowd that was there as the militiamen were were protecting that corner. What ends up happening is Rosenbaum is arguing with everybody that's in the crowd and he picks out Kyle. He's the softest target in the group. He's the youngest target in the group. And he keeps yelling and screaming and bust on me, shoot me, come on, come up on me. And he's doing this over and over and over and over again, enticing this like he wants to fight him. And he waited a while, and when he saw the perfect opportunity, when there was enough space to try to grab him, he lunged at him and he went to grab him, and the kid, like juke move, spun out of his way. The kid took off running. And that's the video that you see on social media. Rittenhouse is running away from Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum is trying to catch up to him to attack him. He throws a bag with these water bottles in it and stuff that people said was a Molotov cocktail, because it did look like a Molotov cocktail flying in the air. And he tried to hit him with it. But he turns around, Kyle turns around right at the last second trying to figure out what's going on because he heard a gunshot at the street. It was one of the protesters on the street that stuck a a gun up in the air and fired the gun. It set Kyle off. Kyle turns around to figure out what happened, and there's Rosenbaum coming right at him. Rosenbaum goes to grab the weapon, and as Rosenbaum grabs the weapon, Kyle just starts squeezing him off and catches him in the head. He goes down. Well, you ran after the kid. You were trying to attack him. He defended himself. Then he runs around the cars to check on him, and he's looking down at Rosenbaum on the ground, and he picks up his phone and he actually tells somebody, I just shot somebody. I just shot somebody. And then more people are starting to come in. What does he do? He runs away again. He's running down the middle of the street. And as he's running down the middle of the street, more people are running in. More people are running in to attack this kid, and they're saying stuff like, get him, he just shot this dude down the street. Another guy, fuck it, somebody shoot him, somebody shoot him. Just get this motherfucker, who cares? All these people are screaming all this random stuff, and this kid's running through the center of it, and guess what eventually happens? He has to turn around to defend himself again. Some guy runs up behind him and punches him in the back of the head, spins his hat off his head. Another guy comes up and it tackles him, like pushes him down right as he falls or whatever. It looks like he tackles him, but I don't really think he did. He fell. Another guy comes up with a skateboard. He hits him in the head with a skateboard, and then he shoots that guy. Then he shoots another guy in the stomach that's attacking him. Then he shoots the reporter that's coming up with a gun in his hand, blows his bicep off. That's when you see the two militia guard guys run up, and one of them drops down and puts a tourniquet on the guy's arm to stop him from bleeding. One of the militiamen stop again. Throughout that entire night, Kyle had been videoed helping people from the protest that had their foot smashed. He went out and rendered medical aid to them. Another guy got his face all sprayed up with a bunch of tear gas and stuff like that, or whatever it was, pepper spray, and he's out there dumping water in the guy's face, trying to clear his face out and stuff for him. Earlier, before all this even took off, he was recorded saying, I'm only here to render aid to these people, and I'm only going to touch my weapon if I feel like I'm threatened. Somebody asked him, well, what if somebody's like burning a business down? Are you going to go shoot them because they're burning a business down? He said, no, I'm just going to try to put the fire out. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to stop them from burning stuff, but I'm not going to touch my weapon because they're burning something. The only way I'm going to touch my weapon is to protect myself. And that's what he did. That's what he did all night. He did nothing but protect himself all night and help other people. So that is somebody that defended themselves. That is somebody that was trying to be out there with the protesters, protecting them and rendering medical aid to them that had to shoot some people because they were trying to attack him. But then you get somebody on the other hand, like this clown from Portland that walked up and shot this guy for no reason as he's walking away. The video caught it all. He wasn't even doing anything to him. He literally just walked right up to him, looked at him, and put 2 in his chest and killed him. But he's supposed to be a hero because he killed a patriot. But Kyle Rittenhouse, an actual patriot that's out there protecting protesters, he's a murderer. We live in a fucked up society right now. And until everybody starts getting together and we start doing stuff with each other and we stop abusing people, nothing's going to change. It's going to be the same. We need to get past all this junk that's going on right now and stop attacking people and actually start looking out for people. And it ain't about Black Lives Matter. It ain't about All Lives Matter. It ain't about Blue Lives Matter. It's about being good, decent people and just respecting people. I'm going to pull this out real quick. Oh, wow. Wait until you guys see this. I need 2 hands for this. Holy moly. Wait until you see this. Look at that. Oh, man. That is beautiful. Oh yeah. Mm. That is a creamy garlic chicken with a homemade creamy sauce, so you don't get any of that sugar and that extra junk that make you more unhealthy and stuff. This is somebody, if you wanted to turn to food and indulge in something, just get kind of crazy and eat as much as you want, this is it. This is something you could eat, never going to put weight on you. Your body's going to be completely fine stuffing yourself with it. And that's what I am too. I'm vocal. I got my own Patriot channel. We run the group together. We have about 5 or 6 other admin with us. We all run it together. We all do the events together. We're just a big happy family, and we all kind of fight with each other. Yeah, I'll put it up. I'll pin the recipe in the comment section up at the top so everybody can get that. But now I'm gonna make I'm probably gonna make like some steamed broccoli and maybe some cauliflower rice with some light seasoning on it, more of a dry base than anything. And then use some of the sauce that's in the chicken to kind of go over the cauliflower rice, because it'll be like a cheesy, creamy sauce, and kind of, or just, it'll probably bleed over. But yeah, I'm gonna put it at the top of the page. Y'all, we need to. I can tell you right now, the government, the government is not going to help us right now. The government is not for us right now. It's like a big game that the government's playing. The government is playing black people against white people right now. That's what they're doing. They want us to hate each other. When I have people out at my rallies and stuff, black people that walk right up to me and they hug me and they're like, man, thank you for everything that you do. I have Hispanic families that come up to me and hug me and say, thank you for everything that you do. We have Indian people that come up to us and they're standing right there with us. They're like, we don't know what the hell we're doing, but it seems like the right thing to do. So let's wave these flags and stand with these people that look like they're pretty decent people. And then eventually they're like, oh, this is like pro-United States. Yeah, I ask people all the time, would you go back to India? Would you go back to your country if you had the opportunity? No. Well, why is that? Well, because in our country, we have so many people invading our country that we don't have jobs. We don't have access to medical and stuff like we do here. The people that rule and control our country, they don't stop them from doing that. And they've taken away a lot of our rights and our freedoms over there because we just don't have that access to things that we have like over here. So we're standing here with you, and we're patriots. We're Americans just like you are. So we're gonna do this. You know, it's people all around the world. They love the United States and they want to come here. They want to live a life here. But we look like a complete joke to them right now. Complete joke. This phone is not. Put the phone on the charger. Is it recording? Well, it's charging. Well, that's it for right now. I mean, what else do we want to talk about? We just need to be better to each other. We just need to be better people to each other. We need to love and care for each other. And we need to start looking at things like raising our kids and our families and stuff like they did back in the day, like a community. Raising them together. Not being mad when another mom corrects your kid because he's doing something wrong or he's about to hurt himself. Not being mad when somebody else comes over and tries to help you, and it's not that they're trying to get in your business. Maybe that's just the neighbor trying to be friendly and wanting to help you. We need to be better to each other. We need to love each other more, and we just need to care about people in society in general. And that's the only way that this is going to get fixed. It's not about any political stuff. It's not about any black versus white or this organization versus that organization. There's a lot of organizations out there right now that are actually playing the African American crowd against the Caucasian crowd. There are organizations in Chicago that call themselves Black Lives Matter organizations, but they're pitting black people against white people. And it's not even really a Black Lives Matter organization. They're organizations that they call themselves a freedom type fighter or something like that, or minority type fighter, and they're really not. They're causing more damage than they are good. I know I see that the fires there was like already like 10 people or something arrested that had to directly, they were directly related to the fire starting out west. So I've seen there's like a bunch of pictures popping up where they're showing people that have been arrested for those fires. And it's not Antifa like everybody was saying. You know, a lot of people were saying, oh, it's Antifa starting the fires. It's Antifa starting the fires. A lot of these people are like 40, 50 years old that they're arresting and putting pictures up. So, I mean, I don't know. It very well could be Antifa, but from what I'm seeing, it's not Antifa. You know, if you look at what it says in the Bible, this seems exactly like the times that we're dealing with in the Bible. The fiery hell, children repenting against their parents, nobody turning to God, it looking like the end in sight, like the end's in sight. It looks like, I know older people can be Antifa, but there's a specific look that a lot of these people have to them. And these people that I'm seeing don't look and they don't act like Antifa people. A lot of Antifa people are actually low key. They're not out here in public and stuff making themselves known like a lot of people think. They have different ways of handling stuff than what we're seeing with people, where people physically are handling stuff. So that's why I believe a lot of this is more extremism. A lot of it is individuals inserting themselves into the Black Lives Matter crowd and stuff like that and calling themselves Antifa, but they're not actually legitimately Antifa. So the only way this stuff is going to be fixed is we're going to have to do it. It's not going to be the government that does it. What's going to end up happening is they're going to shut everything down. It's going to be martial law. If it gets worse and it just keeps getting worse, they're going to martial law everything, and then nobody's going to have any rights to do anything. They're going to say when we come and go, and we're not going to be able to choose that. That's where it's going. You know, and I ask the Black Lives Matter crowd all the time, is this what you want? You're saying that you don't want to be controlled. You don't want more policing and stuff like that, and you don't want to be told what to do. But is this what you want? Because what you're doing right now, not the original Black Lives Matter movement, because that stuff is gone. This is all some radical shit that's going on now. If that's what you want, because so if you're against all this policing and stuff, you're doing the exact opposite that's going to give you that result. You're going to be policed worse than you've ever been. So continue doing what you're doing and see what happens. You're going to get policed. You're going to be able to be told what to do, when you need to be in your home, when you can come and go, and you're not going to have a choice. That's what it's coming to. So, you know, we have martial law to look forward to. The only thing that's going to fix this is when we just like Martin Luther King said, we have to love one another. That's the only way this is going to fix this. Hate begets hate, violence begets violence, and love only makes people love you more. Even when they're mad at you and angry at you and want to do bad things to you, love only fixes that. More hate perpetuates it and makes it worse. So I think that's what we need to focus on now. That's the end of the message today, guys. I'm going to cook the rest of dinner, and then I'm going to put that recipe in the top comment section here so you guys have it. Love y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you. Let's do this again. Give me the next cooking idea. What do you want next? Thank you.